My husband, who passed away 3 years ago, suddenly came back to life. I thought I was going to regain love and cherished it dearly. Little did I know I had already fallen into the trap set by him and his white moonlight. He pretended to be affectionate with me for a while, then suddenly said he had no feelings for me and wanted a divorce. I waited for him for 3 years, so naturally I was unwilling. I never expected that he would actually burn me to death in my home and inherit all my assets. Even my childhood friend who came to rescue me was severely burned, left with lifelong paralysis, and died in despair. It was only after my death that I realized the fire that he escaped from was set by him and his white moonlight. The only reason for coming back to me is that the money has run out, and they want to take my assets through divorce. Mr. Sue, wake up. My head felt like it was splitting apart, and my whole body was burning. I was still wondering why the voice I heard before dying was that of my secretary, but the pain in my body made it impossible to think about it in detail. A burning sensation engulfed me, a feeling of suffocation and fear filled my body. I opened my eyes and saw Secretary Gu anxiously shaking my body, looking at everything in front of me. I couldn't help but wonder if everything that just happened was a dream. Clearly, just a moment ago, I was in a sea of fire. And now I was back in a bright office. President Sue, do you have any discomfort? You were shaking just now, and I was afraid something would happen to you, so I woke you up. It seems that my body has not yet adapted to the recent dream. I feel dizzy and unable to think about anything at all. I waved my hand at Secretary Gu, signaling her to leave first. After resting for a while, I finally regained my composure. It was at this moment that I finally understood. I have been reborn. What just happened was not a dream, but my true feelings before I died. Memories from my previous life flooded into my mind, bringing with them pain and sorrow. I picked up my phone and saw that it was 3 years ago, a week before the fire disaster in Hachao, a week after my previous life. A forest fire broke out on Chaogui Mountain, which happened to be the mountain contracted by my company, and the cause of the fire has never been clearly investigated. My husband, He Chao, is a firefighter who was caught in a fire that burned for 3 days and nights, with firefighters coming in waves. Finally, on the 5th day, the fire was extinguished, but my husband was nowhere to be found. The police, firefighters, and rescue teams searched the mountains for several days and nights but could not locate him. They speculated that he had already met with misfortune. The fire that lasted 4 to 5 days turned a living person into ashes. I refused to believe all of this. For 3 years after his death, I was unwilling to process the death certificate or dissolve our marriage. I never expected that my love for him would be met with a heavy blow from him. 3 years later, He Chao miraculously reappeared by my side. He Chao told me that he had fallen off a cliff, lost his memory, and only recently started to recall his memories. He Chao said that after he remembered, he came back to me without hesitation. I was immersed in the joy of regaining what I had lost. And I didn't have time to think about other issues at all. In the following 2 weeks, he and I also fell into sweetness, but later, he proposed divorce to me and wanted to take half of my property. I waited for him for 3 years. How could I possibly agree? I questioned him about the reason. He actually said he was saved by someone and has fallen in love with the girl who rescued him. This completely shattered my romantic mindset. I said divorce is fine, but don't expect a single cent of the assets. I thought he would at least behave for a while, but unexpectedly, the next day he set my house on fire with the girl who saved him, creating a false impression of an accidental fire. After I died, my resentment was so strong that I kept following He Chao. I only just realized that in my previous life, they set fire to the mountain, and He Chao had already taken a lot of my money to plan this escape. The only reason he came back this time was that he ran out of money and wanted to make a profit from me. Not expecting that I would refuse. In my previous life, I was so engulfed in the pain of my husband's death that I didn't even consider the issue of money. It was also because I trusted this husband who accompanied me from college to marriage for 8 years that he ultimately perished in the fire. After I died, my soul left my body and I saw that my childhood friend Chiang was also present. The fire was too intense, and the firefighters didn't come in time to extinguish it. When one side was put out, the other side reignited. The trees I planted at the entrance have now become the last straw preventing my rescue. Not only were they burned and fell at the entrance, But they also made the fire grow even larger. Chiang rushed into the fire scene recklessly while the firefighters were not paying attention. As I looked at everything in front of me, I really wanted to tell him not to go in. I was already dead. Chiang entered the fire scene, and I watched him being burned by the flames all the way, ignoring the pain to reach my room, ultimately collapsing at my door. Chiang was eventually rescued by the firefighters, suffering from extensive burns all over his body, and his once handsome face was left unrecognizable. "Yo, Su Miao, aren't you going to get up and greet your brother?" I only heard Chi Yang's voice coming from the doorway. Before seeing the person, I heard their voice. "I'm sorry, President Su, but I really couldn't stop Mr. Chi. Ever since graduating from university and marrying He Chao, Chi Yang has always been at odds with me. I didn't know why he suddenly went crazy before, but after his death, I realized he had actually liked me for a long time." Chi Yang casually sat on my desk, fiddling with the succulent plants that he had given me when he was 18. In my past life, the thing I hated most was Chi Yang's playboy demeanor, but unexpectedly, I find myself missing it now. Looking at his delicate features, I am reminded of the meticulous care he gave me during the 3 years he disappeared after He Chao's death. At that time, he set aside his wayward young master demeanor and became increasingly serious, repeating again and again, "Meow meow, let me take care of you." But at that time, I was immersed in the pain of my husband's death and couldn't respond to him. Now, seeing him alive in front of me, I couldn't help but run over and hug him. I felt the person beneath me suddenly stiffen, and after a while, Chi Yang pushed me away in confusion. "What are you doing? You're already married, and I won't interfere in someone else's marriage. Don't even think about it. If you get a divorce, I might consider it." In the past, when he said such things, I thought he was just teasing me and never took it to heart, even feeling angry at his frivolity. It was only now that I noticed his face and neck were both flushed when he said those words. Although he verbally refused, I feel that if I persist, he might agree, seeing that I wasn't speaking. Chi Yang started rambling beside me again. "If you hug me, you have to give me a title, but I absolutely won't interfere. You'd better explain why you hugged me, or I will spread the word that you are being frivolous with me." Noticing that I still wasn't speaking, Chi Yang hesitantly said, "If I were to interfere in someone else's marriage, my parents would kill me." "I'm surprised. Don't love too much, bro. Don't think about it." Seeing that I seemed to be about to refuse his request to interfere, Chi Yang quickly interjected, "I've made up my mind. If I'm going to do it, then I'll do it. As long as I can't be killed, I can accept all the pain. But I warn you, there can't be a little 4 or little 5. I was interrupted before I finished speaking, which was really annoying. "Don't you want to know what I didn't finish saying just now?" Chi Yang shook his head and said, "Su Miao, don't reject me. If you do, can you not tell others what you just said?" I feel like Chi Yang is about to cry, and I couldn't help but chuckle. How oblivious was I to not notice such obvious affection before. "I will give you a title, Chi Yang, but not now. You have to wait for me for a while." Chi Yang was stunned, and I thought he was unhappy. I reached out and held his chin. Lifting his lowered head, I saw a tear roll from Chi Yang's eye to my finger. "Su Miao, I have waited for you for 8 years. 8 years ago, I thought you were just having an ordinary romance. So I kept waiting for you to break up, until 4 years ago, when I heard you were getting married. I dared not disrupt your happiness. I think I will be grateful to today's self for a lifetime." Finally, I took a brave step forward. He held me tightly, as if this action had been practiced 1,000 times. Whenever I think about how I missed such a loving person in my past life, I can't help but want to kill He Chao and the mistress. I made Chi Yang wait for me for 2 weeks, and he just kept nodding and wiping his tears. "I will make those who betray true love pay the price. I will make them regret everything they have done." I glanced at the time. It was 3 in the afternoon, and He Chao was definitely still at the fire station. I drove to the market, which is an underground market that is hard for ordinary people to find. I bought 3 simple surveillance devices there. After returning home, I installed these 3 in the bedroom, study, and living room. This time I will bring them to ruin and nail their ugly faces to the pillar of shame. The most important thing is that I want to know who that person really is. Even though I was schemed against and died in my last life, I never saw her true face. She has always hidden under He Chao's protection. This time I must understand thoroughly. When He Chao comes back at night, he wants to come over and hug me, but as soon as I see his face, I feel like throwing up. It turns out that the gaze of someone in love can really be faked. He noticed my evasion and, dissatisfied, straightened my body and pressed me into his arms. What's wrong? Meow meow. Why are you avoiding me? I slightly pushed back against it and pretended to be shy, saying, I'm all sweaty, don't hug me. He got up and sniffed his clothes. You used to not mind me, you've changed, I don't love you anymore. He Chao said that a person who is very good at being affectionate and expressing love is the reason I was deceived for so long. Even though he has been gone for 3 years, I still can't forget him because he was really good at pretending. He was taking off his clothes while chatting with me about what happened with the fire brigade. I used to admire him because of his professional aura, but I never expected that someone like him would set fire to the mountains for money. He never considered the safety of others on the mountain or his teammates. I remember in my previous life, besides him, there was a firefighter whose daughter had just turned 1 month old and perished in that fire. Thinking about the arson on the mountain, while He Chao was taking a shower, I called Secretary GU and asked her not to let anyone go up the mountain for the next 2 weeks, and to arrange for some personnel to patrol the area with fire extinguishers. Although I can keep an eye on my own property, I cannot watch over others. I can only arrange to minimize harm at the original accident site. Wait for me to finish arranging things, and then I'll come out after taking a shower. I had dinner with him, and we originally agreed to go for a walk together after dinner every day, but now I don't even want to look at him, so I made an excuse of not feeling well and went back to my room alone. When I returned to my room, I turned on the surveillance, and sure enough, he went to the study, where I saw him eagerly making a phone call. He Chao didn't call that person's name, just called them baby. What a pity. Baby, I miss you so much. I eat at the same table with this woman, Su Miao, and sleep in the same bed every day, and it just makes me feel sick. Then He Chao tirelessly spoke sweet words to the woman on the other end of the phone. I used to think he was good at expressing love, but now I only find his face twisted and ugly. It seemed that the woman on the other end of the phone responded to He Chao, and He Chao felt a bit happier. Then it's settled. You come to my house tomorrow, and we'll discuss the plan. He Chao finished speaking and added, don't worry. She loves her work more than her own life. There's no way she would come home early. Besides, didn't you say last time that it was more exciting on her bed? I looked down at the bed, and just the thought of He Chao and other women rolling around in my bed made me feel nauseous. A wave of vomiting surged towards my brain. I couldn't stand it any longer, so I ran to the bathroom and threw up all of my dinner. After throwing up, the hatred in my heart grew even stronger. I grabbed my phone from the bedside and rushed out the door. He Chao seemed to hear the commotion and poked his head out of the study to ask me, meow meow, where are you going? I said without looking back, there are some matters at the company. I need to go on a business trip urgently for a few days. He didn't ask anything, just took the phone and returned to the study. I acted impulsively. It was really disgusting. In a fit of anger, I just grabbed a phone and left. Where should I go now? I can't go home. If my parents find out, they will definitely go looking for He Chao. They never agreed to my marriage with him in the first place. Now that I think about it, it's really true. Not listening to the elders leads to suffering in the present. In my previous life, they wanted to match me with Qi Yang, but I rejected it on the grounds that Qi Yang and I didn't like each other. To be honest, there was a youthful flutter for Qi Yang, but as we grew up, that flutter gradually shifted to others. Thinking of Qi Yang, I gave him a call. Qi Yang, can you come to my house to pick me up? Qi Yang arrived quickly and took me to his home. I told him that I planned to divorce He Chao, but I didn't clearly explain the reasons to Qi Yang. Qi Yang, wait for me. Qi Yang held me tightly, both restrained and patient. I stared intently at his face and gently placed a kiss on his lips. I watched him turn red from head to toe. Comrade Su Miao Miao, don't come to provoke me, a single young man, until you are divorced. I straddled his lap and leaned close to his ear to say, you just said you were willing this morning. How come you're already acting like this tonight? Qi Yang said angrily. Before long, I will be the legitimate wife. And you are not allowed to bring this up. Even if we were to divorce, it should be done openly and honestly. We haven't done anything shameful, and no one should think they can hold anything against you. I raised my eyebrows, not expecting Qi Yang to have such an adorable personality behind the scenes. He kept rambling on about some things, reminiscing about our childhood and complaining about my poor eyesight. Listening to his voice, I unknowingly fell asleep. When I woke up, I couldn't see Chiang. I only saw his message telling me he had gone to work. I also called the secretary to inform her that I would be on a business trip, and for the next week, I worked online. I sat at the dining table eating the breakfast Chi-young made for me, while casually opening the surveillance footage and watching it from last night. After I left today, Hee-Chao became even less discreet, directly sweet-talking with his mistress in our bedroom. Next, this morning, Hee-Chao ordered a lot of takeout, seemingly to welcome someone. Until noon, I watched Hee-Chao go to open the door. I stared at the screen without blinking. I was eagerly looking forward to seeing who that malicious woman was. I saw the door open. To my surprise, it was my best friend Meng Qing at the door. Meng Qing is my high school classmate, and even my college classmate. My first reaction was that she was here to see me, but immediately after, she started kissing Hee-Chao at the door. I watched them kiss passionately and forgetfully. All the way from the door to my bedroom, I gripped the spoon in my hand tightly, and in the reflection of the spoon was a face that was pale, with bloodshot eyes. Meng Qing. It was actually Meng Qing. I never doubted her in my 2 lifetimes. I never thought about telling anyone about this rebirth. If there had to be one person who would know, it would definitely be Meng Qing, because I truly regarded her as a close friend. Not just a friend, but also family. In high school, because her family was poor, I often helped her, and she would also actively help me. I am not good at math, and she, coming from a small county, has poor English pronunciation. We help each other, and even when I got married, she expressed a desire to be my only bridesmaid. I didn't hesitate at all. I truly regarded her as a friend. It seems she didn't just want to be the only bridesmaid, she wanted to be the bride. I recall that after Hee-Chao went missing in my previous life, Meng Qing would always come to visit me. She even advised me that if I still loved Hee-Chao, I shouldn't dissolve our marriage, saying at least to keep a memory for myself. I never thought they would be together because I felt that Meng Qing was the person who looked down on Hee-Chao the most in the world. In the past, when I argued with Hee-Chao, she always advised me to break up. But she only slightly restrained herself after we got married. I thought she was just my best friend treating my boyfriend as a hypothetical enemy. I didn't expect that she actually loved him and successfully turned him to her side. I didn't continue watching the sultry scenes in the video. I just silently saved the video and only resumed watching when they discussed serious matters. Meng Qing's face was flushed, drawing circles on Hee-Chao's chest. Darling, when are you going to implement the plan? We have already transferred some of her money. Don't be so greedy. The money she mentioned was the childcare fund that Hee-Chao and I saved together, which was only a little over 10 million, most of which I had deposited. Since the amount wasn't large, I didn't notice when this money disappeared in the last life. Moreover, the last time Hee-Chao faked his death, I was even less in the mood to manage the childcare fund. Hee-Chao kissed the back of Meng Qing's hand. Don't worry, baby, this weekend. You go set fire on the mountain, and we'll proceed as planned. I just want to take care of that annoying colleague of mine before I leave. When the time comes, I'll push him into the fire when no one is paying attention. That big fire won't be easy to extinguish, and then we can just use our secret passage to get away. My heart tightened. Could it be that the sacrificed firefighter was deliberately harmed to death by Hee-Chao? It's all good, baby. Anyway, you need to hurry and take me to start a new life. After chatting about these things, they started moving around on my bed again. I thought I would hear something useful, but I didn't expect them to be on my bed for 3 days straight. What a useless thing. How did I ever fall for him in the first place? I stayed at Chi-young's house for 5 days like this, and soon the weekend arrived. At 12 o'clock in the morning, I received a call from the administrator of Chaogui Mountain, saying that there was a fire on the mountain and that the fire department had already been notified, so I had him take my highly paid security guard and follow closely behind the fire chief, Song Chen. Make sure to closely follow Chief Song and actively fight the fire, but also pay attention to your own safety. I will arrive shortly. By the time I arrived, the fire had already spread, and the crowd had been urgently evacuated. Ever since I stopped letting them take people up the mountain, there haven't been any idle folks on the mountain. The forest ranger called for an emergency evacuation the moment he discovered the fire. Although the fire was smaller than in the previous life, it still took nearly 2 days to extinguish it. It was only through artificial rainfall that the fire was finally put out. I watched Song Chen return triumphantly and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Thankfully, a family was saved. When the fire brigade withdrew, I saw Song Chen's face darken. And he took the firefighters back up the mountain. I knew what they were looking for. They were searching for their missing teammate, He Chao. This time I was really curious about how He Chao managed to escape from the fire, but I didn't want to continue watching here. After all, I couldn't find someone who wanted to hide. Almost a day later, I received a call from the fire brigade, and they told me that He Chao was most likely missing and had been harmed. I recalled the expression and tone I had when I heard this news in my previous life. I tried to suppress the joy inside and express the emotions that did not belong to me in this life. The person on the other end seemed to be affected by my emotions, kept saying, "Madam, we will do our best to find He Chao. Please calm down." I didn't continue to speak. Just cried silently. It seemed that the other side also knew they wouldn't get a response from me, so they hung up the phone. Once the call was disconnected, I stopped pretending. Now I just need to wait quietly. About a week later, He Chao was officially declared dead, and the police searched Chaogui Mountain repeatedly dozens of times, but did not find He Chao, so He Chao is now socially declared dead. However, I am very curious as to why Meng Qing did not come to find me in this life to comfort me. In the last life, before the police reached a conclusion, Meng Qing comforted me and told me to relax. A week has passed in this life, and the police conclusion has come out, but she still hasn't come to find me. I'm a bit curious, so I took the initiative to give her a video call. I first rubbed my eyes a bit to make them red, then I put in some eye drops. She didn't answer the call immediately, but took a while before picking up. I saw that her background looked like it was in the hallway of a small clinic. Meng Qing asked me with a forced smile on her face, "What's wrong?" Meow meow. I pretended not to notice her haggardness and just rambled on about He Chao. Sure enough, it seemed like she remembered something and said to me, "Meow meow, don't worry, He Chao will definitely come back. You mustn't apply for a death certificate for him." Last time I felt very upset, so I just nodded without thinking. In this life, I just want to know how she can persuade me. Why is that? Ching Ching, you seem to know that He Chao will definitely come back. Meng Qing paused, then continued speaking. Aren't you afraid that if you apply for a death certificate, your marriage will be automatically dissolved, and your parents will force you to marry someone else? What if they still want you to marry Qi Yang, whom you don't love? This reason is good. But this time I won't need anyone else to force me. I will marry Qi Yang myself. Looking at the eerie little clinic corridor where Meng Qing was, I was just about to ask her why she was there. Then I heard a roar from over there, as if it was in extreme pain, like the sound of He Chao. Meng Qing quickly hung up the phone and texted me that she had something else to do and would contact me later. I noticed that although He Chao had escaped death this time, he was not unscathed like last time. He must have been injured on the way. I don't know if this change will affect the developments that follow, so I hurriedly seized the time and went to obtain He Chao's death certificate in the afternoon. I was afraid he might come back to life again. After I completed He Chao's death certificate, I immediately called Qi Yang to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Chiang came to the Civil Affairs Bureau with the household registration book. Chiang seemed surprised that I was so quick, and after a few seconds of hesitation, he responded with excitement, "Yay, you're so fast. President Su's efficiency is indeed high." I waited for a while at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, and then Chiang arrived. When we went in to get the certificate, the staff couldn't help but smile at Chiang's grin. This young man is just too happy. Haha. We had a smooth journey, but only at the end when I showed the staff He Chao's death certificate, the hall fell silent. But they didn't say anything. It was only when I was about to leave that I heard someone whispering, "It's only been a week since her husband died, and she's getting married again. How urgent could it be? Isn't anyone going to say something?" I pretended not to hear. Who cares what they say? If I took to heart everything everyone said, how would I live my own life? After marrying Qi Yang, I asked him not to tell either of our parents for now. There's no need to hold a wedding. If we do, it should be a few years later. I can't let Meng Qing know about this. Even though I know what will happen later, it will still be 2 years before it occurs. I am not prepared to just wait like this. Since I have been reborn, I must seize the opportunity in the trending market. I know that the short video industry emerged in my previous life, so, in these 2 years, I have vigorously developed a short video live streaming platform. In this life, my assets have multiplied. When I was at the top of the short video industry, I widely promoted the incident of He Chao's sacrifice from 2 years ago online. I bought a lot of traffic and heavily promoted him as a hero. I wanted to lift him up high and then bring him crashing down. In these videos, I saw a particularly special comment, Jiaogui Mountain. I explored it before it was developed. There was an air raid shelter inside, but I don't know if it's still there now. I stared at this comment, lost in thought. Is this the secret weapon of He Chao and Meng Qing? I looked at this comment that no one cared about, lost in contemplation. Over the past 2 years, Meng Qing has occasionally come to brainwash me, making me wait for He Chao. I now feel how foolish I was before, not being able to see something so obvious. I was putting on a facade, but in reality, I was living with Qi Yang all along. What surprised me was that in the previous life, Meng Qing lived quite well, yet in this life, he was clearly suffering immensely. The truth of the matter will likely only be revealed when He Chao appears. As expected, about a month later, the police called to inform me that my husband, who had been missing for 2 years, had been found, clearly due to He Chao's identity as an orphan. Although we have been divorced for 2 years, I am the only one the police can contact, but what puzzles me is why, with 9 months still to go, He Chao appeared, resulting in it being advanced by 9 months. With my doubts, I went to the police station. As soon as I entered the police station, I saw He Chao with his back to me. It seemed he heard footsteps, and he turned his head. Coming towards him was a terrifying face, with burn scars spreading across it. The once handsome and delicate face had now become dilapidated. It was then that I understood why Meng Qing had been so distressed these past 2 years. I want to use the excuse of being in a coma for 2 years, but this time it's probably false. Most likely, He Chao was injured and bedridden for 2 years, and she had no position or reason to bring He Chao back, so she could only silently take care of him for 2 years, spending all that 10 million. Nowadays, they are eager to release He Chao to take away my inheritance. He Chao looked at me, took 2 steps forward, as if he wanted to rush over and hug me. This is when I noticed that he even has a slight limp. I quickly took 2 steps back. He didn't expect me to retreat. After all, in his mind, I should be grateful and thankful, and I should warmly embrace him. He didn't expect me to step back, and he lost his balance, falling straight at my feet. I was afraid he would dirty my shoes, so I took 2 more steps back, looking down at him from above with disdain. Meow meow, what are you doing, a horse? Incredulous voice came through. I threw the things I had already organized in front of him. He Chao, we are already divorced, just in the year you declared death. He opened his eyes wide in disbelief. How is it possible? Su Miao, how could you divorce me? You love me so much. He seemed to want to get up and grab my hand, but with his limp, he could only crawl around on the ground with all his strength. I looked at him and spoke word by word. He Chao, we have been divorced for 2 years. After you died back then, I married someone else. If you don't believe me, this is the police station. You can check. It's impossible for you. Su Miao, you love me so much. We've known each other for 8 years, and there isn't a single person around you that you could marry on a whim. I raised my hand and waved the large diamond ring in front of him. Look at this diamond ring. It's 10 times bigger than the one you bought for me back then. I'm putting it out there today. If you disagree, go ahead and sue me. I advise you not to. Even if you weren't dead, we've been separated for 2 years. Or do you think with your current abilities you can win against me in court? I suppose Meng Qing has also told him about my current worth. The unbearable humiliation and hatred were vividly expressed in He Chao's eyes. I didn't even glance back and turned to leave the police station. About 2 days passed without seeing any action from He Chao. Until today when I came across a video in Qi Yang's arms. In it, He Chao was hoarsely accusing me while holding his ID card. I am the firefighter who went missing 2 years ago after a rescue operation. I was saved by a kind-hearted person. I was in a coma for 2 years and only recently woke up. One of the first things I did after waking up was return to my former home, only to find it long abandoned. It seems we have reached a sad part, and He Chao shed 2 tears. It was only when I went to the police station that I saw my wife. I was shocked to learn that she had married someone else just a week after the police declared me dead. She is Su Miao, the CEO of Marriott Group. I am willing to take responsibility for everything I have said and done. I hope everyone will help me seek justice. I currently have no money to sue her, but rest assured, I will fight her to the end. In an instant, a storm of controversy erupted online, and I, Su Miao, suddenly became a woman everyone could scorn. The internet is filled with malicious comments about me. Still a CEO, not knowing where the money comes from. For a woman like her, I wouldn't dare to marry her even for a second marriage. Unless I was dizzy, her husband was a heroic sacrifice back then. How could she dare? I'm dying of laughter. A woman like this, I would dare to marry her. I suggest she bring her billions in assets to marry me. I can't help but feel nauseous just thinking about working for a woman like this. Such remarks are everywhere. I no longer care, and even spent my own money to buy him some traffic. Before long, he started his online live stream. He spoke tearfully during the live broadcast about our college days, about how we came to know and love each other. Many people gave him generous rewards. Perhaps the traffic I bought for him had an effect, as his first live broadcast skyrocketed, even nearly breaking the record for the most rewards in a single live broadcast on the platform. But I only found it laughable. The money he earned from the live broadcast, even half of it, is in my pocket. Only I control the largest short video platform nowadays. Without my platform, he has nowhere to go. And watching him jump around during the live broadcast makes me want to laugh. Despite many people online making a fuss and several of my employees saying they want to resign, in reality, not a single person is willing to leave my company because they absolutely cannot find a better one. Many people are protesting at the headquarters building, holding banners, and there are also many reporters waiting for me. I still went out through the front door without avoiding anyone. What a joke. Am I just playing around with the bodyguards I paid a lot of money for? Today, when I went out through the front door, I also encountered many news media. I saw a man rush up trying to stop me, but he was blocked in place by my bodyguard. He kept struggling, muttering to himself. I simply gave him a chance and walked up to him. He immediately pointed the microphone at me. Ms. Su, what are your thoughts on the rumors circulating online that you abandoned your husband and quickly remarried? What do you think of Mr. He Chao? I took the microphone and began to speak slowly and steadily. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. He Chao for his appreciation of this platform. His lively and energetic broadcasts are very interesting and have made a huge contribution to this platform. If Mr. He Chao is really in difficulty, I can personally change his share to a 60-40 split. After I finished speaking, I left with my bodyguard. Bitch. I only heard someone cursing behind me, then I felt an object being thrown at me. Be careful, it was Chi Yang, who appeared behind me and helped me dodge it. It was an egg that didn't hit me and fell to the ground. I was taken into the car by him and sped away. Because of my remarks, not many people continued to send gifts in He Chao's live broadcast room. Instead, they spontaneously organized offline meetups, and I guess they were probably fundraising offline. After about a dozen fundraising events, I finally received a subpoena from the court. He Chao is finally going to sue me. I really want to know where he got the courage from. On that day, I went to court with the company's lawyer and Chi Yang. Standing in the defendant's position for the first time felt a bit magical. I could only hear He Chao crying to the judge about his difficulties. I couldn't help but marvel at how much his acting has improved after just a few days. After He Chao finished speaking, the judge signaled for our side to speak. I entrusted everything to my lawyer and did not say a word throughout the entire process. He Chao thought I was silent and wanted to mock me, but in court, he still had to put on a show. Meow meow. I never expected that one day we would meet again in this way. Did you ever think about it while handling my funeral? I couldn't help but laugh. Sorry, He Chao, I didn't arrange a funeral for you. I was extremely happy to see him suffer a setback. Immediately, my lawyer presented He Chao's death certificate and the death declaration issued by the police at that time. The lawyer on He Chao's side immediately said, if the declaration of death is incorrect, it should be revoked, and the marriage should be restored. Therefore, the defendant committed bigamy without awareness. Our request is that divorce is acceptable, but we demand a division of property, with the marital assets split equally. I knew he wanted to divide the assets. But what they don't know is that over the past 2 years, I have slowly returned my company to my father, and all my funds are in my father's account. Externally, I am in charge of the company, but internally, the liquid funds have always been with my father. I am not worried that my parents will betray or hurt me because I am an only child and have been spoiled a lot since I was young. I have made all the necessary preparations. Even if He Chao wants to sue me, he will definitely end up losing everything. My lawyer then said, although the declaration of death was incorrect, the defendant and the plaintiff have been separated for 2 years and can independently apply to the court to dissolve the marriage. Although we have been separated for 2 years, we all know that these 2 years were unavoidable, and this is not a reason to refuse to divide the property. My lawyer has been waiting for this sentence, waiting for him not to back down, letting him gradually fall into the abyss. Okay, I will provide new evidence to the court. This evidence is a surveillance video discovered by the defendant after receiving the summons. As he tried to find evidence, hearing the surveillance, He Chao was clearly flustered because this was something he had no knowledge of. This surveillance was set up because the defendant noticed that items in the house were missing and suspected that the nanny had stolen them to sell. He secretly installed the surveillance but hadn't had the chance to inform the plaintiff before the plaintiff was declared deceased. Shortly after, the defendant moved out of that house. The surveillance footage was immediately displayed on the large screen in the courtroom, showing He Chao kissing Meng Qing, and then they went to the bed. The content of the video was so explicit that it was stopped after just a brief segment. Everyone knows what happened next. He Chao's face turned increasingly pale, and the opposing lawyer also looked ashen. My lawyer then said, "It is clear that the opposing party had already cheated before our client filed for divorce. It was simple from there. The court ruled in my favor on the spot." However, the night of turmoil was still not over. Many people criticized the court, saying that the judicial system protects the wealthy. In this world, money can indeed make the devil do its bidding. Even great people lose their lawsuits. I no longer believe in fairness and justice. We common folks are just ground down by capital. It's so disgraceful. I can hardly believe this is happening in the 21st century, taking advantage of public opinion. He Chao and Meng Qing began their money-making scheme again. I calculated that when they had collected quite a bit of money, I posted their cheating videos on the platform. I also bought a lot of traffic and hired many online commentators. When netizens woke up, it felt like the sky had fallen. My reputation soared. Damn it, it turns out everything was a lie to us. While he maintained the image of a devoted husband, he had already cheated long ago. I noticed something was off before. Why didn't the person who found him call the police? Payback. 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 Su Miao is the true leading lady. Because the two of them heard my previous remarks, they no longer livestream on the platform, but instead collected a lot of money from fans offline. Nowadays, many fans have reported to the police that they have encountered scams. Today, He Chao and Meng Qing must be fleeing everywhere, taking advantage of the current trend on the internet. I also officially announced that the person I am marrying is Qi Yang. It can be considered that he has truly been given a name. People on the internet are quick to believe rumors. Now a large number of people are on my side, praising me and Qi Yang as a talented couple. If only things could end here, until I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. "Su Miao, don't you want to know why I treat you this way? If you want to know, come to Chaogui Mountain alone tomorrow. It's Meng Qing. She really did call me there. I am indeed very curious. Clearly I have treated her so well. Why would she conspire with my husband to treat me this way?" So the next day, I went to Chaogui Mountain on time. I saw Meng Qing standing on the mountain, all alone there. I kept a vigilant watch around, looking for He Chao hiding there. "You don't need to look anymore. He Chao has already abandoned me and run away." I raised an eyebrow. With his broken foot, how could he still run? "Aren't you proud, Su Miao? Since high school, you've been by my side constantly flaunting your family. Yes, you've helped me a lot, but to me, it just seems like a display of your wealth. You are rich and beautiful. And you have childhood friends who like you, while I have nothing." Meng Qing smiled self-deprecatingly. "In college, He Chao fell in love with me at first sight. You didn't expect that, did you? Actually, you were the interloper in this relationship. After so many years with your friend, I know what type you like. So I went so far as to have my boyfriend seduce you. I just wanted all of you." The flames swept in again. More fire, with no hint of novelty, even if I can't have all of you. I will destroy you. Why should I? What exactly gives you the right? Meng Qing shouted. Why? As he ran away, it seems that He Chao's abandonment of her was also a lie to me. They must have gone to their secret base by now. I observed the route and headed towards a certain place. As soon as I saw that comment, I sent wave after wave of people to find that air raid shelter, and finally, one day, we found it. I suppose He Chao was hiding there at that time. I discovered that the air raid shelter had two entrances. One had obvious footprints indicating someone had been there, while the other was completely lost to the world. I had the obvious entrance sealed off, under the pretext of protecting the safety of tourists, but they probably never even checked it. They must be eager to see me burn to death in this fire. I walked down to the foot of the mountain along the air raid shelter and happened to run into Chiang and the firefighters who were coming. I sent a message to Chiang before we set off. Just kidding. How could I fight bravely alone when I now have someone by my side? Despite the firefighters arriving quickly, the fire was too intense, and He Chao and Meng Qing were burned to death at the entrance of the air raid shelter. If they had ever taken a closer look, they would have found a sign still stuck at the entrance of the air raid shelter. Mr. Su, wake up. His head was pounding as if the sky was collapsing, and his whole body was burning hot. They can only say that they are too confident in themselves. Nowadays, they have harmed themselves. I told the police that I accidentally entered through another entrance, and the police did not suspect me because there was surveillance at the location where He Chao set the fire, capturing the entire process of his crime. This is enough to prove my innocence. They are just asking for trouble and bringing about their own demise. After going through so much, I am truly exhausted both physically and mentally. Looking at Chiang, who tightly held me in his arms, I finally put my worried heart at ease. Chiang, I can finally hold the wedding with you now.